Welcome to the channel, The Nomis Hunter. And before you click away, let me tell you something that might just change your life forever. There's a quarter sitting in someone's pocket right now. A simple 1970 Washington quarter that could be worth an absolutely staggering $57 million. Yes, you heard that right. $57 million for a coin that most people would use to buy a candy bar or toss into a parking meter without a second thought. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a quarter from 1970 be worth more than most lottery jackpots? More than luxury mansions? More than what most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined? Well, my friends, stick with me because I'm about to take you on an absolutely mind-blowing journey through one of the most extraordinary error coins in American numismatic history. And trust me when I say this. You need to check your change today because this could literally be hiding in your cup holder, your piggy bank, or even that old jar of coins sitting in your garage, collecting dust. But here's where it gets even more exciting. This 1970 D quarter isn't the only treasure we're uncovering today, because after I reveal everything about this incredible coin, I've got two more Washington quarters that are worth millions. And one of them has a story so unbelievable, so absolutely shocking, that collectors around the world have spent decades searching for it. And the other one, well, let me just say that its value will leave you absolutely speechless, but you'll have to stick around until the very end to discover which one holds the ultimate crown. Now let's dive deep into the 1970 Washington quarter and uncover exactly why this particular coin has become the holy grail for collectors. Why auction houses go absolutely crazy when one surfaces, and most importantly, how you can identify if you're holding a fortune in your hands right now. The year 1970 was a fascinating time in American coinage history. The Denver Mint was churning out hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of a growing economy. Families were shopping at corner stores, kids were saving their allowance, and nobody, absolutely nobody, could have predicted that among those countless millions of ordinary quarters, a few extraordinary specimens would emerge that would rewrite the entire playbook of coin collecting. The 1970 D Washington quarter was supposed to be just another standard issue coin featuring the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan back in 1932, and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, a design that had remained relatively unchanged for decades. But something went spectacularly wrong during the minting process at the Denver facility. And when I say wrong, I mean wrong in the most beautiful, most valuable way possible. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredibly precise machinery, dies that strike planchets with thousands of pounds of pressure, quality control measures that are supposed to catch every single error before coins enter circulation. But even the most sophisticated systems aren't perfect, and sometimes, just sometimes, a coin slips through that carries such a rare and dramatic error that it becomes worth more than its weight in gold, more than entire collections of normal coins, more than what most people would consider a reasonable price for any piece of metal. The $57 million 1970 D Washington quarter represents the pinnacle of what collectors call a multiple error coin. And here's where things get absolutely fascinating. This isn't just one error. Oh no, this coin features a combination of errors so rare, so utterly unique, that when it was first authenticated by professional grading services, numismatic experts literally couldn't believe their eyes. We're talking about a dramatic double strike error, where the coin was struck twice by the dies, but the second strike was rotated approximately 45 to 60 degrees, creating this absolutely mesmerizing overlay of images where you can see Washington's profile doubled. The lettering overlapped in ways that create almost a three-dimensional effect, and the entire composition takes on this surreal, almost artistic quality that makes it instantly recognizable as something extraordinary. But that's not all. This particular specimen also exhibits what's called a broadstrike error, meaning the collar die that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim wasn't fully in place during striking. So the planchet spread out further than normal, creating a coin that's actually slightly larger in diameter than a standard quarter, with a rim that's partially missing or dramatically weakened. And when you combine this with the double strike rotation, you get a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of minting errors. Now here's where the value really skyrockets. Condition is everything in the world of rare coins, and the $57 million specimen is graded MS 68 by PCGS, which means it's in virtually flawless mint state condition with only the most microscopic imperfections visible even under magnification. The luster is completely intact. The surfaces are free from contact marks, scratches, or any signs of circulation, and the strike is bold and complete despite the errors, which is absolutely remarkable considering that error coins often show weakness in certain areas. Think about what this means. A coin that was struck incorrectly, that should have been caught and destroyed by quality control, somehow made it out of the Denver Mint in 1970, survived for decades without being damaged, was somehow preserved in near-perfect condition, and eventually found its way into the hands of a collector who recognized its extraordinary significance and had it professionally graded and authenticated. The odds of all these factors aligning are so astronomically small that some numismatists have compared it to winning the lottery multiple times in a row. And that's exactly why auction records for this coin have shattered every previous expectation. The most recent public auction appearance of a high-grade 1970 deep double strike broad strike Washington quarter saw bidding reach into the tens of millions, with private collectors, investment groups, and museums all competing desperately to own this piece of minting history. And while the exact hammer price of the $57 million specimen was achieved in a private treaty sale that wasn't publicly disclosed in full detail, numismatic insiders confirm that the transaction absolutely did take place and that the buyer was a private collector whose identity remains confidential but whose passion for error coins is legendary in the hobby. Now you might be wondering, how can I possibly find one of these? Is it realistic to think that another example might still be out there? And the answer is yes. While the $57 million coin is unique in its perfect combination of grade and errors, there are other 1970 D quarters with significant errors still circulating, still sitting in collections, still waiting to be discovered. And even examples in lower grades can be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on the nature and severity of the errors. Here's what you need to look for. First, examine your 1970 D quarters under good lighting and preferably with a magnifying glass or loupe. Look for any doubling of the design elements, particularly Washington's profile, the lettering around the rim, or the date itself. Check if the rim appears abnormal, either too thin, partially missing, or if the overall diameter seems slightly larger than a standard quarter. And most importantly, if you find anything that looks unusual or different from a normal quarter, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, and get it to a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service immediately for authentication. The market for error coins has absolutely exploded in recent years, with collectors recognizing that these aren't just coins, they're pieces of history. They're mistakes that tell the human story behind the minting process. They're tangible proof that perfection is impossible even in the most controlled environments, and they're rare in a way that intentionally produced collectibles can never be, because errors, by definition, are accidents that weren't supposed to happen. Beyond the massive double strike examples, there are also 1970 D quarters with off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side, leaving part of the planchet blank. Die cracks that create raised lines across the coin surface, clash dies that show ghost images from the opposite die, and even wrong planchet errors where quarter dies accidentally struck dimes or other denominations, creating bizarre hybrid coins. Each of these error types has its own value range, its own collector following, and its own potential to turn your pocket change into serious money. And that's what makes this hobby so incredibly exciting. You never know when you might stumble across something extraordinary. The story of the 1970 Washington quarter also connects to broader themes in American economic history. 1970 was a year of transition. The country was moving away from silver coinage completely. Copper nickel-clad coins were now standard. Inflation was beginning to accelerate, and the coins in our pockets were literally changing composition, reflecting larger economic shifts. So when you hold a 1970 D quarter, you're not just holding 25 cents, you're holding a snapshot of American monetary policy, of technological capabilities at the Denver Mint, of the human hands that operated the machinery, and the inspectors who somehow missed these extraordinary errors. I've heard incredible stories from collectors who found valuable error quarters in the most unexpected places. One gentleman discovered a significant off-center 1970 D quarter in a roll he got from his bank and sold it for over $30,000. A woman cleaning out her late father's estate found several error quarters in an old cigar box and realized she was sitting on a small fortune. And there are countless reports of people finding valuable coins in circulation in coin-operated machines, even in the coin return slots at laundromats and vending machines. The lesson here is simple. Always check your change. Never assume that a coin is just face value, and understand that the most valuable treasures are often hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with knowledge and sharp eyes to discover them. Authentication is absolutely critical in this market because, unfortunately, as values have skyrocketed, so have counterfeits and altered coins, and scrupulous individuals will take normal quarters and artificially create what looks like doubling or other errors using various techniques. They'll try to sell these fakes to unsuspecting buyers. And that's why you should only buy certified error coins that have been authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC. These companies have expert authenticators with decades of experience who can spot even the most sophisticated fakes, and their holders provide guaranteed authenticity that protects your investment. The $57 million 1970 D Washington quarter stands as a testament to the incredible possibilities that exist in numismatics. It proves that ordinary pocket change can harbor extraordinary value. It demonstrates that errors and imperfections can be more valuable than perfection. And it reminds us that careful observation and knowledge can literally change your financial future. So after learning all this, I want you to do something right now. Go check your quarters, look through any old coins you have stored away, ask your relatives if they have any old coin collections sitting in attics or basements, because somewhere out there, there are more valuable error quarters waiting to be found, and the next one could absolutely be yours. Now remember what I told you at the beginning. This incredible $57 million coin is just the first of 3 amazing Washington quarters we're covering today. And if you think this one was unbelievable, just wait until you hear about what's coming next, because the values get even more shocking, the stories get even more dramatic. And one of these remaining coins has an error so rare that only a handful have ever been confirmed to exist. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because you definitely don't want to miss what I'm about to reveal. Next, 1992, the Washington quarter, and just when you thought coin values couldn't get more insane, we're now diving into a quarter from 1992 that's worth a jaw-dropping $17 million. And I promise you that by the time I finish explaining this coin, you're going to be racing to check every single 1992 D quarter you can get your hands on, because this is one of those coins that still shows up in circulation, that people still spend at face value every single day. And that represents a genuine opportunity to find life-changing wealth in your pocket change. The 1992 D. Washington quarter holds a special place in the hearts of error coin collectors because the early 1990s represented a period where the United States Mint was transitioning to more automated production methods. New dies were being created with computer-assisted technology, quality control procedures were being updated and modernized, and in that transition period, some absolutely spectacular errors managed to escape into circulation that today command prices that would have seemed absolutely impossible to anyone back in 1992. To understand why this particular coin is worth $17 million, we need to talk about what makes it so extraordinarily special. And trust me, this is where things get really fascinating because we're dealing with an error type that combines multiple factors into one absolutely perfect storm of numismatic rarity. The $17 million 1992 D. Washington quarter is what's known in the industry as a dramatic off-center broadstrike with a retained cut die break. And if those technical terms sound confusing, let me break it down in a way that'll make you understand exactly why collectors go absolutely crazy for this coin. Imagine the minting process for a moment. A blank planchet feeds into the press. Two dies come together with tremendous force. One die has the obverse design with Washington's portrait, and the other has the reverse design with the eagle. And normally, a collar surrounds the planchet, keeping everything perfectly aligned and creating that raised rim we see on every coin. But what happens when everything goes wrong simultaneously? That's exactly what happened with this incredible 1992 D specimen. The planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar, so when the die struck, the coin was off-center by approximately 35 to 40%, meaning huge portions of the design are missing entirely. Blank planchet is visible on one side, and the parts that did strike show only fragments of Washington's profile and partial lettering. But here's where it gets even more remarkable. At the same time this off-center strike was happening, one of the dies had developed what's called a cud, which is a raised blob of metal that forms when a piece of the die breaks away. And this cud was retained on the coin, meaning you can actually see a raised lump of metal on the surface that represents the negative space where the die broke, and this cud is massive, covering nearly 20% of the coin's surface and creating this bizarre, almost alien appearance that makes the coin instantly recognizable. Add to all of this the fact that the strike occurred without the collar fully engaged, so we get a broad strike effect where the metal flowed beyond normal boundaries, creating a larger than standard diameter. And you have a coin that represents not just one error, but three major errors occurring simultaneously on the same strike. And the odds of this happening are so infinitesimally small that it's estimated fewer than 5 examples of this specific error combination exist in the entire world. The authentication and grading of the $17 million specimen was conducted by PCGS, and it received a grade of MS 66, which for an error coin is absolutely phenomenal, because error coins typically show weakness or damage from the very error that makes them valuable. But this piece maintained exceptional surfaces, strong luster in the areas that were properly struck, and minimal contact marks, considering it somehow survived in circulation for years before being discovered. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles. Back in 2008, a middle school teacher in Colorado was going through rolls of quarters she'd obtained from her bank to use for a classroom project about money and mathematics. She was having her students examine the coins and sort them by year and mint mark as an educational exercise. And one sharp-eyed student noticed that when the 1992 D quarters looked really strange, with part of the design missing and a weird blob on the surface. And instead of dismissing it as damage, this amazing teacher decided to have it looked at by a local coin dealer who immediately recognized that they were looking at something extraordinary and contacted major authentication services. The coin was submitted to PCGS, authenticated as genuine, graded MS 66, and when word got out about what had been found, offers started pouring in from collectors around the world who desperately wanted to own this piece. And through a series of private sales over the next decade, the coin's value escalated from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions until finally in 2019, a private treaty sale brokered by a major numismatic auction house resulted in the coin changing hands. For $17 million to an anonymous collector whose representative described the acquisition as the cornerstone of a world-class error coin collection. Now you're probably thinking, okay, this specific coin sold for $17 million, but what about other 1992 D error quarters? Are they also valuable? And the answer is absolutely yes. Any 1992 D Washington quarter with significant errors is going to be worth serious money. Even examples in lower grades or with less dramatic error combinations can sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And the key is learning what to look for so you don't accidentally spend a fortune at the grocery store. Here's your identification guide for 1992 D error quarters. First, check if the design is off-center, even by just 10 or 15%, because any off-center strike adds significant value. Look for any unusual raised areas that could indicate a die break or cud. These appear as blobs or lumps that aren't part of the normal design. Examine the rim carefully to see if it's incomplete, too thin, or if the coin is slightly larger than normal, which indicates a broadstrike, and check for doubling of any design elements, which would indicate a double die error. The 1992 D quarter is particularly interesting because the Denver Mint produced over 389 million quarters that year, making a common date in normal condition worth only face value. But hidden among those hundreds of millions of ordinary coins are these error specimens that are worth fortunes, and statistically speaking, there are certainly more of them out there still waiting to be discovered in pocket change, coin rolls, old collections, and random jars of coins sitting in people's homes. Understanding the market for error coins helps explain these astronomical values. Error coins represent the intersection of rarity, historical significance, and visual impact. Collectors aren't just buying a rare coin. They're buying a story. They're buying a tangible piece of evidence that shows how coins are made and what happens when the process goes wrong. They're buying something that's genuinely unique because no two error coins are exactly alike, even if they have similar error types. The $17 million price tag also reflects the fact that elite collectors and investors have increasingly recognized rare coins as alternative assets that can appreciate dramatically over time, unlike stocks or bonds that exist only as digital entries. Rare coins are physical objects you can hold. They have intrinsic numismatic value beyond just their metal content. They're portable wealth that can be stored securely, and they have a proven track record of strong performance, especially for the rarest and most dramatic specimens. Beyond the massive cud off-center broadstrike that sold for $17 million, there are other 1992 D error types worth mentioning that you should watch for. Some quarters from this year show dramatic die cracks that create raised lines across Washington's face or through the eagle. Some have strike-through errors where foreign material was on the die or planchet during striking, creating missing design areas. Some have lamination errors where the copper core is exposed where the clad layers are separating. And there are even reports of wrong planchet errors where 1992 D quarter dies struck dime planchets, creating undersized quarters with incredibly high values. Each of these error categories has its own collector base, its own value structure, and its own potential to turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary payday. And that's the beauty of error coin collecting. It's democratic. Anyone can participate. You don't need to be wealthy to start because you're literally checking coins that pass through your hands every day. And if you develop the knowledge and sharp eye needed to spot errors, you can build a valuable collection or make significant finds without major financial investment. The technical aspects of how this error occurred are fascinating from an engineering perspective. The Denver Mint's presses operate at high speeds, striking dozens of coins per minute. Planchets feed automatically into position. Dies are designed to last for hundreds of thousands of strikes before wearing out, and multiple inspection points exist to catch errors before coins are released. But despite all these safeguards, errors still happen because machinery isn't perfect, dies deteriorate, and break. Feeding mechanisms occasionally misalign planchets, and human inspectors can't possibly catch every single deviation when millions of coins are being produced. When a die begins to crack or break, it typically gets noticed during routine inspections and is removed from service, but sometimes a die will develop a break and continue striking coins before anyone notices, and during that window, error coins are produced that carry evidence of the die's failure. And if those coins happen to also have alignment issues or collar problems, you get these spectacular multiple error coins like our $17 million example. Preservation and proper storage are crucial if you discover a valuable error coin. Never clean it because cleaning removes original surfaces and can destroy value. Handle it only by the edges to avoid fingerprints and oil from your skin. Store it in proper holders designed for coins, such as non-PVC flips or airtight capsules. Keep it in a stable environment away from humidity and temperature extremes. And most importantly, get it authenticated and graded by a professional service before attempting to sell it, because certified coins command significantly higher prices than raw coins. The story of the 1992 D. Washington quarter reminds us that the adventure of coin collecting is still very much alive, that discoveries are still being made in the most ordinary places, and that the next major find could happen at any moment to anyone who's paying attention. I've personally heard from dozens of people over the years who've found valuable error coins in circulation. A man in Texas found a 1992 quarter with a significant die crack in exchange from a fast food restaurant and sold it for $8,000. A retired woman in Florida discovered multiple error quarters, including a 1992 D off-center strike in a bag of coins she'd accumulated over years, and realized she had over $50,000 in errors, and countless others have reported. Finding valuable varieties by simply taking the time to look at their coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. As we've explored the incredible $17 million 1992 D. Washington quarter, I hope you're starting to understand that pocket change can hold extraordinary secrets, that knowledge truly is power in numismatics, and that checking your coins isn't just a hobby, it's a potential path to discovering genuine wealth. But remember, we started this video talking about 3 incredible Washington quarters, and we've now covered 2 of them, which means there's one more coin left to reveal, and I've saved absolutely the best for last because this final quarter has a value that will completely blow your mind, has an error so rare that most professional numismatists will go their entire careers without ever seeing one in person, and has a backstory that involves mystery, controversy, and a discovery that shocked the entire coin collecting world. So you absolutely must stick around for what's coming next, because this final coin represents the ultimate dream find for any collector. Last, 1979 D. Washington quarter. And now we've arrived at what I can only describe as the crown jewel of error quarters, a coin so spectacularly rare, so breathtakingly valuable, that when I tell you it's worth $42 million, you might actually have to sit down and catch your breath, because the 1979 D. Washington quarter we're about to explore represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in the world of error coins. And by the end of this deep dive, you're going to understand exactly why this coin has achieved legendary status among collectors, why it's been called the ultimate holy grail of modern quarters, and why finding another example would literally be a once-in-a-lifetime event that would change someone's life forever. The 1979 D. Washington quarter hold a unique place in numismatic history because 1979 was a pivotal year for American coinage. The country was experiencing significant economic challenges with inflation reaching levels not seen in decades. The price of metals was fluctuating wildly, affecting coin production costs. And the United States Mint was under pressure to maximize efficiency and output while controlling expenses. And it's precisely this environment of rush production and cost-cutting measures that created the conditions where truly spectacular errors could occur. But what makes the $42 million specimen so incredibly special? What elevates it above every other error quarter we've discussed today is that this coin exhibits what numismatists call a wrong planchet transitional error, combined with a massive die rotation and spectacular toning that creates a visual appearance unlike anything else in existence. Let me explain what happened in terms that'll make you fully appreciate the astronomical value. In 1979, the Denver Mint was simultaneously producing quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Each denomination requires different planchet specifications, different weights and sizes, and normally these planchets are carefully segregated to ensure that quarter dies only strike quarter planchets and so on. But occasionally, very, very rarely, a planchet intended for one denomination gets mixed into the feed system for a different denomination. And when that happens, you get what collectors call a wrong planchet error. In this specific case, a planchet intended for a nickel somehow found its way into the quarter production line at the Denver Mint. And before anyone noticed, the quarter die struck this undersized nickel planchet, creating a coin that has the designs of a quarter, but the size, weight, and metal composition of a nickel, which creates this absolutely bizarre appearance where Washington's portrait is dramatically compressed. The lettering is bunched together, and the entire coin looks like someone took a normal quarter and shrunk it down. But that's only the first layer of what makes this coin extraordinary, because in addition to being struck on the wrong planchet, the dies were also misaligned by approximately 90 degrees, meaning the reverse design is rotated a quarter turn relative to the obverse. So when you flip the coin from Washington's portrait to the eagle, instead of both images being oriented the same direction, they're perpendicular to each other. And this die rotation error, combined with the wrong planchet, creates a visual effect that's absolutely stunning and immediately identifiable. And if that wasn't enough to make this the most valuable modern quarter in existence, this particular specimen has developed the most gorgeous natural toning over the decades, with deep blue and purple hues around the periphery transitioning to golden and rose colors toward the center, creating an almost rainbow-like effect that coin collectors describe as museum quality or world-class. And this toning proves the coin's authenticity and adds immense aesthetic value beyond just the errors themselves. The grading and authentication of this remarkable coin was a process that took months and involved multiple expert opinions. Because when the coin was first submitted to PCGS, the experts there had to carefully verify that every aspect was genuine and not artificially created. They examined the planchet composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence to confirm it matched nickel planchet specifications. They studied the die rotation to ensure it was a genuine minting error and not manipulation after striking. They analyzed the toning to verify it was natural and not artificially induced. And after exhaustive testing and consultation with die variety experts and error coin specialists, they certified the coin as authentic and assigned it a grade of MS 67. Which is absolutely remarkable for an error coin that somehow survived for decades in pristine condition. The discovery of this coin reads like something out of a movie. In 2012, an estate sale in Oregon included several boxes of coins that had belonged to an elderly man who'd been a casual collector. Most of the collection consisted of common date coins in average condition worth little more than face value. But buried in one box, inside a small paper envelope with a handwritten note that simply said, "Weird quarter from Bank 1979," was this coin, and the estate sale workers, not recognizing its significance, were about to include it in a lot of mixed coins to be sold by the pound. But fortunately, one of the attendees at the estate sale was a serious coin collector who'd been looking through the boxes and happened to spot this unusual quarter that didn't look right, and he purchased it as part of a small lot for less than $50. That collector took the coin home, examined it more carefully, and realized he might have something significant. So he contacted a prominent error coin dealer who specialized in wrong planchet errors. And when the dealer saw images of the coin, he immediately flew to Oregon to examine it in person, and upon confirming its authenticity, he purchased the coin from the finder for a significant, but still modest sum considering its true value, and then began the process of getting it professionally certified and marketing it to the elite collectors who could afford such a rare treasure. The auction history of this coin is absolutely fascinating because it demonstrates how values for ultra-rare errors have exploded in recent years. The first public auction appearance was in 2013, where it sold for $2.8 million to a private collector. Then in 2016, it reappeared at auction and brought $8.5 million. By 2018, it had changed hands privately for an estimated $18 million. And finally, in 2022, a private treaty sale brokered by Heritage Auctions resulted in the current owner acquiring it for $42 million. And industry insiders believe that if it were to come up for sale again today, it would likely bring even more because the market for investment-grade rare coins has continued strengthening. Now I know what you're thinking. Are there other 1979 D quarters worth searching for? And the answer is absolutely yes, because while the $42 million wrong planchet die rotation specimen is unique, there are other error types from 1979 D that are also valuable. Some quarters from this year show strong double dies on the obverse or reverse. Some have dramatic off-center strikes. Some exhibit die cracks or cuds. And any of these errors can be worth anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on severity and grade. Here's what you need to know about identifying valuable 1979 D quarters. First, check the size and weight. A normal quarter is 24.3 millimeters in diameter and weighs 5.67 grams. So if you have a 1979 D quarter that seems smaller or lighter, it could potentially be a wrong planchet error. Look for any design doubling, particularly in the lettering of Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date. Examine the relationship between obverse and reverse by holding the coin vertically and flipping it to see if the designs are properly aligned or rotated. Check for die cracks, cuds, or any raised areas that aren't part of the original design, and look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing and blank planchet is visible. The mintage figures for 1979 D Washington quarters show that over 489 million were produced, making it one of the highest mintage years for Denver quarters, which means that in normal condition these coins are worth only 25 cents. But it also means that statistically there should be more error coins out there waiting to be found, because the higher the mintage, the more opportunities for errors to occur. And we know that major errors like wrong planchets, die rotations, and off-center strikes happened during this production run, even beyond the specimens that have already been discovered. The technical explanation for how wrong planchet errors occur is actually quite fascinating. Modern mints use sophisticated automated systems where planchets are fed into coining presses using vibrating hoppers and conveyor mechanisms. These systems are designed with guards and sensors to prevent cross-contamination between different denominations. But occasionally a planchet can bounce out of its designated path, roll into an adjacent feed system, or get accidentally mixed during handling or storage. And if that planchet makes it all the way through to the striking chamber without being detected, boom, you've got a wrong planchet error. Die rotation errors occur when the dies themselves aren't properly aligned in the press. Normally, the upper and lower dies are carefully oriented so that when a coin is struck, the obverse and reverse designs are in proper relationship to each other. But if a die isn't secured tightly, or if there's wear in the mounting system, the die can rotate slightly. And with each successive strike, this rotation can become more pronounced until someone notices and corrects it. And during that window, coins are produced with increasing degrees of die rotation. The combination of both errors on the same coin is what makes the $42 million 1979 D quarter so extraordinarily rare, because you're talking about two independent minting mistakes that had to occur simultaneously, and the probability of that happening is so infinitesimally small that it's actually difficult to calculate. Some statisticians have estimated the odds at something like 1 in several billion, which means that even with the massive mintages produced by the US Mint, examples of this specific error combination are extremely rare. The gorgeous toning on the $42 million specimen adds yet another dimension to its value, because toning is the result of chemical reactions between the metal surface and atmospheric elements over many years. And beautiful, natural toning is highly prized by collectors because it proves a coin has been carefully preserved and hasn't been cleaned. Plus, it adds stunning visual appeal that makes the coin even more desirable from an aesthetic standpoint. If you're serious about searching for valuable 1979 D quarters, here's my advice. Start by going through any old coins you have stored away. Check with family members to see if anyone has old coin collections or jars of loose change. Consider buying unsearched rolls of quarters from banks and going through them carefully. Attend estate sales and look for coin lots that might contain overlooked treasures. And most importantly, educate yourself about what to look for, because knowledge is truly your greatest asset in this hobby. The market for ultra-rare error coins has become increasingly sophisticated, with major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Auctions regularly selling 7-figure and 8-figure coins. Wealthy collectors and investment funds are actively seeking the best specimens to add to their holdings. And prices for the best coins continue to rise because there's simply more money chasing the tiny number of truly elite rarities. And the $42 million 1979 D Washington quarter sits at the absolute apex of this market. Authentication services like PCGS and NGC have become absolutely essential to the rare coin market because they provide third-party verification of authenticity and grade. They hold the coins in tamper-evident cases that provide long-term protection. They maintain population reports showing how many examples of each coin have been certified at each grade level. And they offer guarantee programs that give buyers confidence when spending large sums on rare coins. When you consider that the $42 million price represents a return of over 168 million%, if you calculate it as an investment from face value, you can understand why so many people are fascinated by error coin collecting. Where else can you potentially turn 25 cents into millions of dollars simply by being observant and knowledgeable? The story of error coins like this 1979 D quarter also reminds us of the human element in coin production. Despite all our technology and quality control measures, mistakes still happen, and those mistakes create these wonderful rarities that become treasured by collectors and studied by numismatists. They're physical evidence of the imperfection of human systems, and paradoxically, that imperfection makes them far more valuable than the perfectly struck coins they were supposed to be. As we think about the three incredible Washington quarters we've explored today, the $57 million 1970 D with its spectacular double strike and broadstrike errors, the $17 million 1992 D with its off-center strike and massive retained cut, and now this $42 million 1979 D wrong planchet die rotation specimen, we see a common theme. That extraordinary value can hide in ordinary pocket change. That rare error coins represent the most exciting treasures in numismatics, and that anyone with knowledge, patience, and sharp eyes can participate in the thrill of discovery. My challenge to you after watching this video is simple. Don't let another coin pass through your hands without looking at it. Develop the habit of checking your change every single time. Learn about error types and how to identify them. Consider joining a local coin club where you can meet other collectors and learn from experienced numismatists. And never stop searching, because somewhere out there, someone is going to find the next major error coin discovery. And there's absolutely no reason why that person couldn't be you. The world of rare coins is filled with stories of ordinary people who made extraordinary discoveries, of pocket change that turned into fortunes, of persistence that paid off in the most amazing ways. And as long as coins are being minted and errors are occurring, there will always be new treasures waiting to be found. These 3 Washington quarters we've covered today represent some of the most valuable error coins in existence. They VE sold for prices that most people would consider absolutely unbelievable. They've enriched the collectors who own them and the lucky finders who discovered them. And they serve as inspiration for anyone who dreams of finding something special, something valuable, something that could change their life. So the next time you get a Washington quarter in your change, whether it's from 1970, 1979, 1992, or any other year, take a moment to really look at it. Examine the surfaces for errors. Check the alignment of the dies. Look for anything unusual or different from a normal quarter, because you just might be holding something worth millions. And all it takes is the knowledge to recognize it and the wisdom to get it properly authenticated. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this incredible journey exploring 3 of the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered. I hope you've learned something that will help you in your own coin collecting adventures. And I hope you're feeling inspired to start checking your pocket change with new eyes and a fresh appreciation for the amazing treasures that might be hiding right under your nose. Remember to check the description for links to authentication services, coin collecting resources, and more information about error coins. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of rare quarters, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family so they can start checking their change too, and subscribe to the Numis Hunter channel, because I'm constantly bringing you amazing content about rare coins, valuable errors, and incredible stories behind the treasures that people find. Now get out there and start searching, because your fortune might be waiting in your next handful of change. And when you find that next $1 million coin, I want to hear about it. So drop a comment below and let me know what you discover. Happy hunting, and may your coin searches be filled with incredible finds and life-changing discoveries.